Excellent. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me, and it's a real pleasure to talk to you guys. I'm glad that Bruce flagged me down at Bad Camp and set this up, and I'm excited to just give you guys a quick demo of the Pantheon experience, and then answer any questions that you might have about how the service works, or how you can use it, or anything else of that nature. So just at a really high level, Pantheon is trying to make things radically easier and more effective for organizations, individuals, and businesses to have a great web presence. And we're doing that by automating a lot of the processes around developing and deploying and running and scaling and maintaining over time Drupal, which is open source CMS that I've been involved in for almost 10 years now, and really enjoy working with. So the Pantheon is not just, you can think of Pantheon as a replacement for hosting, but it's also a version control system, a developer workflow, a collaboration suite, and a number of other things all rolled into one. So it doesn't fit neatly into one of the traditional boxes that you might have in your tool set now, and that's because we're really trying to do things differently, and we think a way that offers a pretty compelling value both to developers and to site owners. But I sort of come from the developer side of things, so that's the perspective I'll bring to this demo, as you're going to see. So what you're looking at right now, assuming everybody can see my screen, is the developer dashboard. This is what this is my personal site on a personal account on Pantheon, and I have a couple sites that I host here, and then I have a demo site that's set up. And so basically, one of the first things is that it sort of organizes all your Drupal sites into one place. You have an easy way to manage your SSH keys. You use those for Git and SFTP access, credit cards if you're paying for sites and so forth, and you can just sort of see all your sites there. You can also download some useful development tools like Drush aliases, so that you can use a remote connection to get access to the sites. So adding a site is really easy on Pantheon, and we, for developers, we really encourage people to think of us as a place to do things really quickly and easily. So this could be like live demo 1, 2, 3, and in real terms, we have people creating and deleting and recreating and sharing and stuff sites all the time, and that's because from zero to a working Drupal environment should take less than 5 minutes. With Pantheon, sometimes even less, and we're working on speeding that up all the time to make it quicker to set up and deploy these things. While this is going on, I'm just going to open another tab so we can progress, sort of the cooking show style. You never watch people chop onions. If we go into the webinar demo dashboard, we're going to go into the actual developer dashboard for a site. So again, Pantheon is oriented around developers and then the sites, the projects that they work on. And so this is one that I haven't touched in a while, but as you can see, there's a few different things going on here. First of all, every site has 3 environments. There's dev, test, and live, and that's so that you can have a workflow for building and deploying changes, not just while you're in the process of setting up a new site, but also really important for maintaining existing sites over time, building new features, making changes to design, and so forth. Okay, I'm just going to advance this step here, doing 2 things at once. And let's just say we'll do a Panoply because I like, ooh, wow, there's a new test demo. So we also have a bunch of install profiles on the platform, and we're working on adding more support for sort of pre-baked start states. So you don't just have to start with vanilla Drupal. I'm actually starting one with our in-house start state called Panoply, which is a cool site for building with panels. It's a cool base for building with panels if you've ever used that Drupal suite. So within dev, test, and live, all 3 of those are fully functioning environments. As you can see, I'm going to open up the dev environment. It's going to be a little slow the first time because on Pantheon, part of how we can actually offer free sites to as many people as want to come along and sign up is that when sites are idle, especially dev sites, for a certain amount of time, we actually sort of spin them down. So like their PHP processes and MySQL databases are actually all asleep, and it can take a good 30 seconds to get them up and running the first time. But then after that, they're awake and everything works. So as you can see, it came up okay over here. That was a little slow, but if we load another page, it's going to come up much quicker. Each of these are fully functioning environments that you can work in. Each environment has basically the same set of tools in the dashboard, although there's a few things that are unique to Dev and Live. We run some status checks for people, and we're always working on adding more things here, so you can kind of like find out if we think there's anything you should be aware of or noteworthy about the platform. We will monitor your PHP error log for you, so you don't have to worry about finding that. That'll surface in the dashboard actually in real time. As errors happen, they'll flood into the dashboard. It's kind of cool. You can add custom domains. You have to actually be a paying customer. That's kind of our gate for going live, is that if you want to put your own domain on the website, that's when you have to start paying. But you can add those custom domains once you are paying to all three environments. So if you want to have your own custom dev domain, you can do that on Pantheon. It's kind of fun. A lot of people like that. We do allow people to make backups sort of on demand, and there's also a backup schedule. Again, for paying customers, you can have backups happening nightly at a time of your choosing, which is a nice thing to be aware of. And all the environments have the ability to lock or unlock them, and that's basically, if you're familiar with HT access, this puts an HTTP authentication on the environment, so you can keep your dev sites locked. A nice important thing to note about dev sites is that even if you don't lock it, we make sure to not allow them to be spidered by search engines, which is kind of an important thing that sometimes people forget, and then it has bad consequences. In addition to all those features, you communicate with your site via Git. So version control is the basis for all the Pantheon workflows. We think version control is incredibly important, and we try to make it really easy for developers, even those that are new to version control, to get their head around it. So every Pantheon site has a Git repository set up for it at the beginning. That was part of what this process over here just did. And you can check it out, and as soon as you push any code to the master branch, if you're familiar with Git, it will show up in the dev environment. But you don't have to use Git to work in the environment. I mean, that's important for two reasons. We support SFTP, or on-server development, and I'm just going to toggle this really quickly so you can see. This is important for two reasons, I think. One is that there's definitely a learning curve to version control, and to Git in particular, because it's a wonderful tool with a lot of options and a lot of power, but it can be intimidating to first-time users. And also, you, as a developer, even an experienced developer, you really need to be able to debug in the platform that you're deploying on. It's just the worst thing ever. Everyone has a sad and dies a little bit inside if you're speculatively committing code and pushing it to see if you can find information about a problem or get some debugging output. You really need to be able to do it in real time right on the server. And so we have this on-server dev mode, because we think that's super important, and you wouldn't really be able to do Pantheon without it. And I'll show you how that works. I have connection information here, and there's SFTP. I have a client that I like called CyberDuck, and I'm going to go ahead and connect CyberDuck to the dev environment here. So I'm going to put the server in, change the port number. I really want to make this like a little bit friendlier, because I think this is the obscureness of the port number and the randomness of these names is annoying. But you got to do what you got to do. And I'm going to tell it where my public key is, and I'll allow that. And here we are in the code directory. And then what I can do, for instance, is I could make some changes to like the maintainers.txt. This is a totally trivial change, but hopefully you guys will get the power of what I'm doing. CyberDuck integrates with my text editor, and I can just do like a hello world. And I save that, and that goes and gets uploaded directly into the maintainers.txt. And back on Pantheon, Pantheon's actually already detected that this change has been made. If we go here, we can see it. And there's my hello world right here. And more interestingly, Pantheon's aware that I made that change. It says that there's one change ready to commit in the dev environment, and you can start typing a commit message. You can also see exactly what the changes were. So I can see that was one change was made to maintainers.txt, one line, and I can actually even go and get the diff for this if I wanted to. And this can be helpful if you're working collaboratively with people and you're not sure the state of things, or if you just want to know what it was you changed. And this could be a example commit to maintainers.txt and just do like that. That actually will make the commit in Git, so you can look at Pantheon as actually a way to interface with version control if you're still sort of working on getting started. That that is doesn't require you to bust open a command line, doesn't require you to install a lot of tools. And we can see down in my commit log, there it is. And all these things that make it into the commit log are similarly inspectable, and you can see what changed. Now, because we do everything with version control, I'm just going to toggle back into Git so that I can show you the update from upstream. Because we do everything through version control, we can provide Drupal core updates via the dashboard. So every time a new release of Drupal comes out, or there's a new release of the Drupal distribution that you're working off of, in this case Panoply, we can just apply the updates automatically. They show up here, and you would just click this button, and then these commits would flow right in down here. And that really reduces the overhead and the burden and the repetitive work, especially for people who manage a large number of sites. When Drupal core releases come out, having to go in and actually manually make the changes to all of them and work on deploying that. Pantheon can kind of cut that down from several hours / all day thing, depending again on the number of sites you maintain, to something you can handle in a few minutes. And we're actually working on ways to make that even faster. So for instance, you could opt in to automatically have updates apply to your dev environment and get a notification, and maybe do these from the overview page. It'd be kind of cool if we could go back to this page and do a thing that pushes out updates across all three of these at once. Those are things we're working on, because again, we're all about saving developers time and making people more efficient, focusing on the really important stuff, which is actually building the website. The deployment workflow is something we sort of automate for you, a best practice workflow where you push code up from dev to test to live, and you pull data content back down from live to test to dev. That is the bulletproof way to do Drupal continuous integration and deployment. And so basically what happens in this environment is anytime there's anything in dev, test will encourage you to run this process, which is you pull the files in the database from the live environment and deploy the code from dev. And that essentially makes it so that the test environment is giving you a highly accurate, very clear preview of what your deployment is going to look like. So in this case, I'm just deploying a text change to maintainers.txt, but if I was deploying a module update, I would be able to try to run update.php via Drush, or I could do it manually. If there are, oftentimes, people end up with, you're deploying some new code, and there's a sort of post-deploy configuration step. You can do work to encode that in an update hook or featureize everything, but there are just enough edge cases in Drupal, and we've all experienced this, I think, where you have to go in and do something after you deploy. This process allows you to ensure that you know what that is and have it all down and exactly scripted. And hopefully it's not, it's something that fits on a 3x5 index card and so forth. And if you needed to do it again, you could just say, okay, well, my code's there, but let me pull the data back again from live to test, and then I can I've sort of refreshed the test environment with the live data, and I can rerun my deployment process. Which is a really, really valuable tool. When you deploy, you don't want to take the site down. You don't want to have it be like a panicked moment. We like deployment to feel like, smooth and powerful and winning. And then over here, now that I've got the stuff ready in test, when the time is right, I can click here, and it'll deploy into the live environment. A few other things that we do on Pantheon that are important to note. Frequently clicked button, clear caches. This will flush both the Drupal caches as well as the Pantheon's edge layer. Part of what we provide for all these the sites in Pantheon is not just this dashboard and these development tools, but also a highly tuned, high performance stack. So you're getting the benefits of properly configured PHP, FPM, the latest versions, APC, a well-tuned MySQL instance, access to our optimized file storage system called Valhalla. You're getting a varnish cache, reverse proxy caching. You can enable Redis. You can enable Solr. All these sort of high-end tools for running speedy or large volume traffic Drupal sites are built into the Pantheon platform, and you can develop with them in your dev environment and then go live with them. So clearing caches can be an important thing to do. We have a concept of team management, and this is really helpful for people who do a lot of projects. Most web development projects are actually collaborative. I mean, at a minimum, there's often another person who's the stakeholder or product owner or person who approves things. You can bring them into this as well as your development colleagues and work together on sites rather than having to share an account or do a bunch of legwork to set someone up on a system. It really is just like type an email address. If they're already on Pantheon, they'll be added. If they're not on Pantheon, they'll be given an invitation, and you'll be given a free site credit if they sign up. So you can game that system if you like. And it provides a better way to work together. And again, that's something that we're actually investing a lot in improving too, because teams and the process for people who manage and maintain sites as their profession, those are the people that we're really trying to serve best with this product, is professional developers who do this every day because that's their job, and we want to make sure that they're able to do the best possible job they can. Let's see, not a lot else to show in the dashboard off the top of my head. We keep track of all the things that are happening on Pantheon, so you can see the status, like if something's hung up or it's taking a long time, you can follow it here. If we were to clear the caches, that would show that this was going on, and that's kind of a nice peace of mind thing to have. Also, just so people aren't worried about opening a second account for a new project. You just kind of if you're doing something with a new stakeholder, invite them to come in. You get a free dev site, and it's designed to kind of like keep the system running without too much manual intervention. If you have a case where you just want some more free dev sites too, you can just ask. There's a button in there once you run out, and we're happy to grant them for people that are doing more projects. We just sort of start with 2 because it seems like a sane number. In terms of support on Pantheon, we provide access to the support system to all of our customers, even the people that are using it for development at the free level. I mean, obviously we kind of give some priority to paying customers, but we want to make sure that developers at all levels are able to figure out whether Pantheon's a fit for them, get to know how to use it, and can give us their feedback on the product. At the higher levels, people get access to quicker responses and also the kind of 24/7 on-call emergency support system, which is a requirement for some sites. And that sort of brings me to just, if you're looking at Pantheon for real projects, the various plans to talk through. Obviously, it's sandbox. The development sites are free. There's really no better way to evaluate Pantheon or get your head around what it does or figure out if it's a fit for you than just to use it. There's no risk there other than you have to invest a little bit of time in seeing if it's for you. But it's totally free, and you should just sign up and test it out right now. When you're ready to put a real site on it, there's a choice of service level. So personal is our low end, as cheap as we can affordably provide it, package, and it's designed for small sites, a blog, a hobby project, something that's not going to get a lot of traffic, that's not going to have a big database footprint or have a lot of uploaded files. For sites on the very, very low end, we're not able to compete on cost with like the completely commodified, cheap shared hosting, but we offer a heck of a lot more value. So the idea is that if you have a large number of sites and you want to standardize on Pantheon, or you want to try it out first with something very low risk, the personal tier is there to sort of make that possible. The professional tier is for sites that are for a business or an organization or someone that's actually using their web presence for an important purpose.
Hey Josh, I think we might have lost him again.
Did again.
Yeah, but at least it was quicker this time.
Well, I caught the crash notice. I blame WebEx.
Blame
So
WebEx.
All right, so we're back to. Am I seeing my desktop? That's interesting. All right.
I think maybe just keep talking.
Okay. We'll keep going. So yeah, and I'm just speaking to the pricing stuff now. So the so the real difference with Pro is that you can get you can use SSL, get a static IP address, handle more concurrency. It's just like more horsepower. The next step up is business, which is if you have something that's kind of mission critical. The big difference at business versus pro is that we provide failover and high availability. So the worker processes are actually constantly distributed to multiple endpoints within our infrastructure. And so if any one has a problem, it'll immediately fail over to the other. And so you can mitigate a lot of potential downtime that way. And then for for businesses and organizations that want to have a relationship with their service provider, need a high level of support, need access to that 24/7 on-call option, the enterprise plan is there for those for folks. That also goes for sites that are doing millions of page views a month. Probably sometimes you can get away with that on the business tier, depending on how much of it is cacheable. But for really big sites, we recommend the enterprise option because it's just, we'll go through and work with you on making sure that the launch is successful. That makes a big difference in terms of how things work when you first cut over the traffic. We've had a lot of success with that. And the last thing is Zeus, which is am I still on? The last thing is Zeus, which is for people who have a large portfolio site.
Cool.
I have a question on the Zeus. Is there anything smaller than if you have hundreds of sites? Because we're probably right now we're using the personal level of service, but I could see us having more than one site, 5 to 10.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. I've never had WebEx crash on me this much. I either must have installed a new version or I'm doing something differently than normal. But you guys were talking a little bit. I can sort of, just take your questions at this point. I'm happy to answer anything that I can. Yeah.
So right now, I'm curious about that Zeus option because we don't have hundreds of sites. We're not anywhere near that big, but we are using the Pantheon, the personal level of service at $25 a month, and running this sort of multi-headed installation. And so, a level of a service offering where you could have like 3 or 4 independent sites, and pay something per month might be another interesting offering.
Yeah. So the kind of the way that we do this is if people are looking for like a package deal, the Zeus option, it really is for people that are doing high volume and are looking also particularly to manage a lot of the sites with their own custom start state. So like the original example of this, the first Zeus customer was UC Berkeley, and they basically built a install profile of Drupal, a distribution that included their theme. So you would spin it up and it would look like a Berkeley site immediately, and then also the integration piece for their whatever CalNet authentication system, so you could log into the Drupal site with your student or faculty credentials, and then they're rolling that out to about a little over 100 sites so far. It's set to grow to 500 by the end of the year, and then they can maintain that centrally. That's kind of the power of Zeus. If you have sites that are by nature independent, you can just add more sites to your account, right? There's no limit to the number of sites that you can have under a normal Pantheon account. The pricing is all per site, and if you're looking to do a package deal, that's something that we will do with folks, usually as part of a larger enterprise agreement. It's totally common for us to have customers who come to us with like one flagship property that needs a high level of service, and then a number of smaller properties, and we can kind of roll all that together into one deal for folks.
Got it. Okay.
Other questions?
I think a lot of the people in the Federation who are working in Drupal are sort of extending Drupal or doing PHP extensions or linking to software services, and I wonder how where's the handshake between what they could put up on there Pantheon and what they may have to put on another server and make remote calls to. Do you have any guidance on that?
Sure. So I'm a big fan of people using a web services or a service-oriented architecture in general, and we have a lot of people that do neat and useful things with that on Pantheon. So I think there are a lot of, it's really use case dependent. There are a lot of appropriate times to look at a web services style integration. In terms of what you want to do by extending Drupal, you have access to all the code. And I apologize if that wasn't super clear before, but it's, you can add any modules, you can add any, it's a fully functioning PHP runtime environment, so you can add any PHP code you would like. In terms of installing extensions to PHP, like that need to be compiled in, that's not something that you have the ability to do on your own, but we work with people on this type of stuff to determine whether it's something we can support, but either generally or as a specific thing for folks. So it's kind of like a ask us. We have a lot of this doesn't come up super frequently because you have everything you need to run Drupal. But if you were looking to do, I don't know, some kind of very specialized type of work, and you needed a relatively obscure PHP or PECL extension, we might have to work with you on that. The other thing is that in most cases, the PHP extensions that are of that level can just be installed as a library into the site's code base itself and then included at runtime. Most of them don't need to be compiled in at that level, but some do. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thanks. I mean, like Aaron says, the whole federation, our whole organization is now running on Pantheon, and what I really like is how you make explicit the best practices of going from dev to test to live. A lot of people have difficulty, spinning up a site and throwing it on the web and then wondering why it's not working as they thought it was. So I just want to congratulate you guys on making that an integral part of what you do.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. And that's something that we're trying to bring. That same perspective is what we try to bring to as many aspects of the platform as possible. In that we make the sort of the best practice the path of least resistance, and kind of the thing that happens if you just because the truth is it's a complicated world, and you got a lot of stuff going on in your organization, you got a lot of stuff going on in your workspace, you have a lot of stuff just going on in your computer screen, and it's a natural human thing to kind of just click the biggest button. And you'd be surprised if you make the easiest thing also the right thing. People do the right thing without having to think about it too much, which is great. And we're hoping to be able to bring that to more. We're working on some new features to allow for branch-based development. So you can have some like relatively major changes going on in a branch of the site while you make minor updates or CSS tweaks, whatever, on the main line. And I think if we can nail that in the way that we nailed the deployment workflow, we will have done the world a great service, because I've just been a part of so many projects where that whole branching workflow question ends up becoming a huge time sink and a huge blocker, and sometimes goes horribly wrong. So look for those features to come out hopefully before DrupalCon. It should be pretty exciting.
That sounds great. Any other announcements going to happen between now and DrupalCon?
Well, there will be some other. In terms of major features, I think that's going to be the biggest one that will be visible to customers. We're actually working on finishing a deployment behind the scenes that upgrades our Valhalla file server infrastructure to its 4th iteration, which is a really major improvement and will improve stability and performance for basically everybody. But that's something that we've just been, it's a process both to do the development work and then to do the deployment, because we have thousands of active sites and we can't flip them all over at once. So that's been going on, and when it's done, we'll probably do an announcement, but it'll kind of be an after the fact, oh, that's nice. And ideally, people will just, they won't necessarily see it as a feature. It'll just be everything is a little bit faster, stuff doesn't get hung as often, there aren't any wonky file issues, and service just improves. We're working on, as part of the feature branching stuff, some additional capabilities on the team side, because right now there's this probably doesn't impact you guys as much, but for a lot of the shops that we work with, they're like professional development shops, they want a better workflow for sort of handing over ownership to a site to a customer. We support that now, and we know that, but it's just not as good as it could be. So that'll be a part of it. And then also maybe some features around limiting access for some team members to like dev only, so they can't deploy. That's been something that's come up in the past a few times as a hotly requested feature that we might be able to do. We're also going to be doing some other stuff in terms of case studies and the like. We've been doing an awful lot of work over the past year, but we've been so busy working, we haven't really been telling anybody about it. And so part of what we're working on consciously in 2013 is actually getting the word out about all the things that Pantheon does. And so, doing things like this webinar. And again, thanks for having me. There'll be some announcements that are of that nature, but again, it'll be more like, here's a case study, or here's a new, like the service offering that we have. It won't be so much features in the dashboard. The biggest stuff going in there will be this branching work, which is, I think, going to blow a lot of people's minds.
Cool. Let me ask if anyone has any other questions for Josh. Otherwise, we can let him go. And
okay. Well, thank you guys very much. And again, I apologize for not catching that first crash. It's terrible to have dead air in a webinar, but I appreciate you guys hanging in there. And again, thanks for the invitation. And hopefully, I'll see some of you guys at DrupalCon Portland. Yeah,
we'll see you in Portland, and we'll edit out the little crash part from the YouTube.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
No problem. We all blame WebEx.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Josh.
Cheers. Bye.
Oh, bye.